the history of Ebonyi State, and performance of its leaders from military regime to civilian rule. A paper delivered by Southeast Can Chairman, Very Reverend Father Abraham NWALI, titled Consolidation on the Grace of Good Leadership in Ebonyi State. What Ebonyans are looking for from the next leader. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, The Mirror TV on YouTube, The Mirror on Facebook, DMC TV and Co. on Facebook page. Follow us on this channel and subscribe as we give you the latest as it happens here in Ebonyi and outside the states.
Today I'm invited to say something tough, but my job is half done because you have already taken a stand before asking me to reaffirm that stand in constructive criticisms. As I will go through the topic first, by the positive attitude of the team, it says, consolidating on the grace of good leadership. That is preemptively positive. So I said the work is that of the principles of affirmation. It's made easy because of the positive presentation of the topic. I'm only therefore called to critically and constructively defend the team. I'm solemnly invited to present some highlights of some of good governance in Ebonyi State prior to the second phase of the assignment, which I consider as the epicenter of the act, is sustainability. The invitation to reflect on the consolidation of the grace of good governance in Ebonyi State is an affirmative one. The author-organizers of the program preemptively has or have approved of good leadership in Ebonyi State. And my work will be to historically, though summarily, go through the periods of governance in Ebonyi State and see them from the point of view of good governance. Ebonyi State is created 25 years ago, 1996, under the leadership of former President of Nigeria, His Excellency Sani Abacha late. If you ever know Sani Abacha is one of the toughest presidents, he is presumably called tyrant. But for Ebonyi, he is a very good man. There is no one that is completely bad on earth, and no one is completely perfect, because we are ongoing. Matthew 5:48, the perfect as the Heavenly Father is perfect, is an invitation on the train of perfection. But it does not say everybody is perfect. So we are working towards perfection. So Abacha, though tough and presumed as one of the most difficult presidents of the country, is a good president to Ebonyi State. Positive aspect. The organigram, and look at the diagram as laid then by Washington and Connie. As I go to study these people, just to give the affirmation to the topic of the sustainability of good governance in Ebonyi State. The first executive governor is His Excellency Senator Sam Omin Elko. He is uniquely identified with restructuring and the provision and promotion of education in Ebonyi State. I personally was involved when I left Rome 2002 and went to Whitfield, and from there I went to London, weekly upon ties, where the indices of Ebonyi State are there on high back. Before then, no Ebonyian has had the privilege of living in that mass represented by the 13 local government overseas for masters and PhD on pure total scholarship. That is the great record. Probably because he was the commissioner for education, and probably because he had his time tough when he was passing through his education, because he will share with you and with us what he passed through and saw that with education, which according to our dear great author Bacon, knowledge is power. And so he laid the foundation of education, and today we are a little bit suffering from that, because some of those that went on high pack have not been reintegrated into the society, and some of them have been lost out in employment overseas, and some came back without encouragement, and they are struggling on private personal entrepreneurship. 2, the second executive governor after the 2 administrators is His Excellency Chief Martin Wancho Elechi. He is identified too from the point of view of good governance from 2 perspectives. We call him bridge builder. The bridges of unity of the entire 13 local government. I had been privileged to go on twine. I passed twine with Bishop Okoro at Azinyaba. I passed on twine with Bishop Okoro and Father Zubike at Ebonyi. But today, all these areas are bridged and you can comfortably ride on them and solidly bridged. 2, it was English. It gave discipline to civil service and public service. When it tells you 10, the 10 of Wancho Elechi is 10. And if it tells you out, the out of Wancho Elechi is out. And so because of that, they would always look at him as being strict, but he's a great disciplinarian. His Excellency continued and handed over to the third, who is also the His Excellency David Umezumai. In his case, I also give him 3 unique assignments and attributes which anybody can stand, and I will challenge the person. 1 is a professional engineer, and anything about infrastructure, leave it for him. I was the other time when there was argument in the federal government, and they said that for us to get our roads good in Nigeria because of the salt and the terrain, the Nigerians embark on concrete roads. He was the first to start it, and the second was Dangote in Kogi State. Ebonyi State started the issue of the concrete road. They had the fourth, what they call nylon tar concrete. In the old 60s and 70s at Nigerson Smith factory. If you go there, our brother, His Excellency Chief Fidelis Wankwo, was also a director then when it was purely on nylon tar and concrete. I used to be there as the chaplain and say some masses there 28 years ago, 1994. That is the road that has remained till today. If you drive towards Nigerson, you see that road is still there. And so another engineer came and mentioned that what Ebonyi need to make the road here remain 100 years is that after you concrete, the earth will begin to receive the water because of the cement. But you also need to be careful on the mixture to make sure that there is sufficient cement. Otherwise, it is recommended that after concreting, you should asphalt. As soon as that new discovery was made, it was announced in New York. His Excellency embarked on that now, concreting and asphalting. And he said, he's concreting and asphalting from here, the entire urban, and here to our boundary at Enugu and our boundary at Afikpo. So in infrastructure, if we are sincere, nobody has given us that best, and it remains the best in the 36 states. If you go to the government house anywhere, including Asoro, which I have been privileged to be there because of the position, you will discover that the Ebonyi State has the best government house structuring in the whole nation. In fact, when Osimhen and Ross came, when they went through the new government lodge, he said this was imported from Washington, D.C. So he remains excellent there. Number 2, he is unbeatable in religious relationships. He is the first that allowed religion influence his government. And we discovered that whatever he is doing, and he has gained a lot. If he had not employed religious body in peace mediation, he would not have survived his tenure. Because he needed people who are completely neutral and will tell you the truth and have nothing to gain and have nothing to lose. He is respected there, and even the federal government, they pay him homage by asking him that his use of religious body in peace mediation has made him a man of peace. Number 3, he is uniquely identified with the cause of the poor, the indigent, the vulnerable, the sick, and the widows. Go around the whole 36 states, we can put you on that. No state has embarked on payment of patient bills, which has started since 2015 to today. I can certify the allocation he gives to patients. And most of all our stakeholders traveling overseas on medical ground, he pays all their bills. And this is the first time that a widow will receive stipends. And for 6 years, I have continually signed the checks of the widows, praying widows who are on stipends till today. All ex-military officers, legionnaires, all, from 2015 to today, have been paid. So if we go through that, we say he is left with wonderful, good governance in this. This is not to say that all of them are not without their limitations and shortcomings. When the paper will request me to dictate their shortcomings and blind spots, I will do that without any fear of favor on the ground of constructive criticism. However, Ebonyi State has continued to enjoy the proverb, half cup full of good leadership. Let me now be more critical. What are the, and then look at its sustainability. Science, political scientists, and great people who have gone into leadership and governance say there are 6 characteristics by which you assess good leadership or good governance, whether in politics, whether in the church, or anywhere. When you see those traits, they are all marks of good leadership. 1, transparency. I have here also in the paper an enneagram from the web that gives you what they call good governance web. Good governance web. Now whoever is coming to stage to do anything, the first we check is his transparency. If the person is able to tell the whole world, this is how much I received. If the person is able to tell the whole world, this is how much I spent. This year, for example, Ebonyi State had the privilege of debate of the budget for the public. In the past, allocation was not published in social media. It used to be given privately, and to be spent privately, and to be accounted privately. But with the fight on paper against corruption, I said on paper, they started the publication of the income on social media. But Ebonyi State religiously not only accept the publication, but will come back to the House of Assembly to accept that this amount they have received, they will be spent in this order. And after it is spent, they will send it to the House of Assembly and to do the auditing with the Fiscal Commission. That is accountability. That somebody gives you something to do, you are bound to do the capital. But we make the best use of it because there are other gains behind which you will not know unless you are directly involved. They have grants, and sometimes the grants is greater than 3-4 months allocation of expenditure schedule. And most interesting on the area of that accountability, which we'll find out is that even when there is a fix, because when funds are fixed, that's why most states do not pay their salary except the first week of the following month to enable them get the maturity of the fix. Because each time they receive it, they fix it on what they call bi-monthly and monthly fixture. And sometimes they get so much in that fixing. His Excellency would come to the ESCO and announce the rule of law. Any leader that respects the rule of law shows the person is transparent. Whether it's a bylaw, whether it's a constitution, whether it's divine law, whether it's a positive act law, or whether it's a natural law. Any have respected the law. For example, with the development in the country today, you employ any of them, you can be a landlord. You can be Seko. You can be Napoleon. Because you can use them to clean a village. And that's the experience we're having today down in the north, where you hear that 1 or 2 or 3 villages are wiped out by the force that mighty power. If you join luck, that what you see evidently is the reality. And if you join Plato to give us the nomenon in the phenomenon, you discover that any attack on equity is attack on justice and is attack on inclusiveness. So that is what I've done in the politics. And so we remind them that play no game because nature will be on you. Nigeria is suffering today because of disrespect of zoning. And all the parties today are dejected. And the youth are clamoring that if you joke again in this country with equity and inclusiveness, the youth will burn us down and then take the leadership. So that same thing is happening. If Ebonyi State plays with equity and justice, Ebonyi State will experience the desire in leadership as we found in Imo State. That is the fourth and important point in governance. The fifth is consensus-oriented. You must have a listening ear. Any good leader must listen to the purpose, the feelings of the people you are leading. If you lead them without listening to them, you will discover that the greatest misfortune about humanity is chronos. If we are chaotic, we have nothing to fear. In other words, since we are timed, and our time is fast, wherever you are, shortly you will be timed off. But if we are timeless, it means that whatever you have to do it forever. So that's why we must have a listening ear to know where best do I need to focus my attention. So when they come, I said, the government cannot do anything. Fegabo has given us the map. Utoyo has showed us the discipline. Samuel has given us the education. Elechi has built the bridge of unity and discipline in civil service. His Excellency is working on the infrastructure, religious relationship, and the recognition of the common man. The next man may go straight to civil service. That area requires also attention. Paying a good attention to that. But you can't get one person to do all of them. But that is the truth. And that person, if he gets to civil service, he will the whole people. But you must be ready to do the fight. Because you never owe a civil servant a dime and think he's going to forgive or forget. Once you increase, you must pay. And today, all Ebonyi State, like most states, are owing pension and gratuity. Because they have allowed it to accumulate. The money of civil servants is like the money of a widow. If you don't struggle to pay off on time, you'll be indebted to the widow for life. So if you don't pay off what is due to civil service by way of pension and gratuity, it will build up in such a way that you'll be scared. And that's why I said they may not be saints, they may have their blind spots, but I'm invited to look at the areas of good governance. Three, the challenges of the time. There is a big problem because the present government, and for the past 25 years, time has changed. I was there in US in 9/11 with Bishop Darcy in Fort Wayne South Bend Church. And we were there saying the 12 o'clock mass. Shortly after that, a big bell rang. And they said, there is 9/11. Bin Laden has attacked Washington, D.C. And therefore, life could never be the same again in the world. When we walked out, I told Bishop Darcy, my Lord, time has changed and the world will never remain the same. Today, the world has not remained the same. The same thing, time has changed everywhere. There are too many influences. And I want to back on some of those influences to know why leadership is getting tougher. That you cannot be a leader today without being screwed up. Our time, distinct from kairos, which is eternity, is chronos, which is time. Is a generation global age. If America pollutes now, in few seconds, it will reach here. Global. The world is a small village. And so there is a comparativeness. There is comparison that every leader is weighed to the leader in US. So people can weigh their leaders and notice their faults. Two, sustainable leadership lasts, enduring to make the legacies last. It depends on who is the advisor to who.
Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel, The Mirror TV on YouTube, The Mirror on Facebook, DMC TV and Co on Facebook page. Subscribe and follow us on this channel as we give you the latest as it happens here in Ebonyi State and outside the state. For sponsorship, call this line showing on the screen or email us on the email showing on the screen mbamsylvester@gmail.com. Thank you and God bless you as you subscribe.